Hi folks. In today's video, we're going to be walking through how to set up Adobe Experience Manager running the cloud version for both the author and publish servers. I am going to be using Mac OS, but much of this is going to be applicable for other operating systems as well. The first thing that we need to do is we need to start by downloading Java. I'm going to be running Java 21, and that is going to be what's compatible with the most up-to-date version of the AEM SDK currently. So make sure that when you do this, you are running the proper Java version. The way I typically do it is I come here to somewhere like oracle.com and I can get a download of whatever JDK I need to be running. Of course, I've already done this for the setup, but what you're going to do is just come here, find the correct option for your operating system. If you download the wrong one and then try to start it up, it will tell you that it's not compatible. So you're just going to want to grab the appropriate Java JDK. Once you do that, you're going to have a download that will show up here in your downloads folder. It's going to look similar to this. Here's my Mac OS one. All I need to do is double click that and it's going to open up to me with a folder. Now what I'm going to do is I need to actually place this JDK folder in the appropriate location on my machine. The way that I typically go about doing this is by using the Find or Go option here. So I can actually go to any specific place on my machine. So my Java JDKs are going to be located here at this path. So I'm going to go ahead and use the Go feature, just clicking somewhere in the bottom corner, clicking Go, and then go to folder. Go ahead and press enter. And so all you're going to need to do is just drag your JDK that you downloaded and place it here at this location. You now have the JDK on your machine, but we do need to update such that our terminal is going to be aware that we have this Java as an available software that we can run. So in order to do that, we need to modify our configurations for our terminal. So the way that we can do that is to use the Go feature once again. I'm going to use this go to folder. In this case, I want to go to my home directory for my user, which is going to be /. I open this up. You may not see a lot of these files here that are grayed out. If you don't, just press Command Shift dot, and that will toggle the hidden files. If you have not set up Java before, will likely not have a .ZSHRC file. So if you don't have that, you'll need to create that file, and then we're going to go ahead and modify it. Now that I have the file, I'm just going to go ahead and put it into one of my IDEs, and I've already created the file here. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be defining my Java home variable using the path to the JDK that I just downloaded, and principally the contents home folder. We then export that using the information here. I'll include this in the description of the video. You can just copy paste it. Just keep in mind that your path may be a bit different than mine is. All right, we now have Java running, and the way that we can validate that is by opening up a new terminal window and checking the Java version that we have. So I'm going to bring a terminal window in, and I'm just going to say Java -- version. Okay, so I see I'm running Java 21. That's what I want to see. And now I'm able to proceed to the next step for the AEM setup. The next step is going to be that I need to be able to build my code to my server, and we use Apache Maven for that process. So in order to get Apache Maven, there are a number of ways to do it. I already have it on my system. You can see if I just go Maven version, I'm running 3.9.11. If you don't yet have Apache Maven, all you need to do is use Homebrew to say brew install Maven, and that will install the latest version of Maven for you. If you don't know what brew is, that is Homebrew, which is a software that allows for Mac OS to download a variety of different softwares pretty easily and manage them. So if you're curious what brew is, just Google Homebrew. You'll see it's a very easy setup for your Mac, and then you can go ahead and install Maven. Once you've done so, you can go ahead and type mvn-version, and you want to see some output similar to this. That's going to confirm that, okay, we do indeed have both Java and Maven installed on our machines. And now we're ready to go ahead and proceed with the setup. The next thing that we need to do in order to run AEM locally is, of course, we need to have the software that actually runs AEM. That's called the Adobe SDK, the AEM SDK. So what you'll do is you'll come to this path here, this URL, experience.adobe.com, and I'm going to be running the cloud version of AEM today. There are other versions, but very commonly projects, especially new projects, run on cloud, and so that's what I'm going to be using for the demo. When you're on this page, you just want to find this thing that says AEM SDK. There's going to be a version. The most recent one at the top of the list is going to be the most recent version, and that's typically the one that you'll want to do if you're starting out. Just keep in mind that your Java needs to be compatible with that version. So for this one, 2025 of August, I have the Java 21, and that's what's compatible. Go ahead and just click on that, accept your end user license agreements, and click download. That's going to download the file for us. We'll go ahead and find that in our downloads folder. Go ahead and unzip this file. You can see I've already downloaded it in the past. Once we go ahead and do that, we're going to be greeted with 3 different files here. So we have 2 that are for dispatcher tools. We won't be doing dispatcher setup today, but you can check back for a future video where I will be walking through that. The file in particular that we care about is this jar file right here, and that's what we're going to be using for both the author and the publish servers. All right, so now that we have our software from Adobe, we need to go ahead and create some folders that we can use to run our project. So if I go to my desktop, I've already created this AEM tutorial folder. I'm going to go ahead and create a author and publish folder within this. So this is going to be my author. I'm also going to create one called publish. Now that I have these, I need to get my software into these appropriate folders here. So I'm going to open up a new Finder window, go ahead and just grab the file that I need. Because there's one of these and I need it in both of these folders, I'm just going to go ahead and copy it. Paste item. Paste item. All right, so now we have our jar files. One thing that's critical in order to run these is we need to rename this for both author and publish. The typical naming convention for author is going to be as follows: AEM-author-p4502.jar. For publish, it's going to be very similar. It's going to be AEM-publish-p4503.jar. This P4502 and 4503, that's defining the port that your project's going to be running on. So if you change this port, just make sure that you're also looking at the correct port when you run the server locally. Also, sometimes in your code, there's going to be certain things that actually are specifying the port. And so if you change this port here, you may also need to change the ports in your code. We won't really have to cover that today. This is pretty much what you're going to see. That's kind of just the best practice with AEM to use these 2 ports here. All right, so now we actually have our software in the appropriate folders and it's named as it needs to be. So we're going to go ahead and start AEM for the first time here. We'll go ahead and start our author server as well as our publish server. So I'm just going to drag my author folder right onto my terminal. It's right here now. I then need to get the command that I'm going to use to start my author server, which I keep in my commands file here. Go ahead and put that onto the IDE. Here I have a list of commands that I've already gone ahead and saved. So I will include these in the description of the video. Just going to copy this first one for author, come back to my terminal and paste it. One thing that I know is that when I'm running Java 21, I need to remove this flag Just from testing, I found that when that flag is there, it doesn't start up properly. So make sure to delete that if you're running Java 21. And now I will highlight a few aspects of this just for a moment. So we're calling out that we are going to be starting this jar here. You can see that it's named just as I named it in the folder. We also have a debug flag that's running, and that debug is going to be on port 59865. We won't be going into debugging today, but just want you to be aware of what some of these configurations are. And then finally, we want to run this as a local server and an author server. So you're going to see that for the publish one, it's going to be a different command. I'll just go ahead and hit enter for that, and that should start running for me. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing for the publish. Put that one on a terminal. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my commands, and I have my publish command right here. Copy this, go ahead and paste it. Now you can see that in this case, the file is publish, and it has P4503, which is what we need for publisher. And then, of course, we also are going to be running local, and we're going to be running the run mode publish as opposed to the author. And then I'm also going to delete this flag here once again, and just go ahead and hit enter there. All right, so these are going to go ahead and start up for us. It'll take a minute to get the server running for the first time. And once it does, you'll see that it'll pop up a window for us. So I'll check back with you in a moment. All right, so let's go ahead and check on the status of our server. I'm just going to go to localhost 4502 to begin with. And it looks like it's still setting up for the first time. It can take a bit longer when you start this for the first time. And soon we'll see that this page will reload for us and we'll get a login screen. In the meantime, let's go ahead and download the weekend project so that we can use that for the demo so that you can get an idea of how to actually build code straight to your server locally. Here I'm using the AEM Guides weekend project. I'm just going to go ahead and click and copy this file here. The next thing I need to do is to go ahead and download this code and place it somewhere. I have my AEM tutorial. I'm going to go ahead and go in here and create a new file, a new folder called weekend. And now I'm going to drag this into the terminal. I'm just going to say git clone and use my URL for that particular repository in Git. I'm going to go ahead and download that. Now we have all of the code for the weekend project. You can see it's downloaded right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag this right onto my IDE again. And now I've got all of my project code. So let's go ahead and open that up. All right, so now once you have your server running, we already have the code. We just need to go ahead and deploy this code to AEM. Looks like startup is still in progress here. If I go to localhost 4503, there's no content, but it has started up. So that's what we would expect to see. All right, so our author server is now running. For the first time, when you load it up, it's going to give you this login screen. Just go ahead and type admin, admin, admin. Password username is just admin. All right, now we can sign in here. All right, so now we actually see our startup screen and we are running AEM. So congratulations, you've gotten this far. Well done. Next thing what we want to be able to do is to actually see a page that's actually functional live. So we can go ahead and do that in a moment. I'm going to go ahead and open the sites just to show you the projects that currently are available with just the base AEM startup. You can see we really don't have any projects here. We just have these two out of the box folders. So we do need to build our code to our server. In order to do that, the command that you're going to use is mvn, that's the Maven command, clean install -p auto install single package. Maven just says, hey, we're going to use Apache Maven to do something. Clean is saying, hey, let's clean any previous compiled code and restart. Install is going to be saying, hey, I want to be installing whatever I'm going to be bundling up and compiling. I want to install that onto my server. And then how do I want to do that? I want to package everything as a single package and deploy it. By default, this is going to go to the author server. So I also want to send it to the publish server. So I'm also going to say p-auto install single package with the word publish at the end. Now I'm going to be able to hit enter, and you're going to see that my code is going to start building. I haven't run this code here in a long time, so there may be some test failures within this repository, and I'll show you, if that's the case, how you can get past those test failures. With this being the first time that we're going to be building this code here in this folder, it will take a bit longer than normal. But once it does deploy, it's going to be seen here. We can actually interact with the pages straight on the AEM author server. All right, we now have built our code and deployed it to both our author and publish servers. So let's go back to 4502, refresh the page. Now you can see that we actually have pages from the weekend project. I can open these up. I can click one of these boxes, click the edit button, and this page will load for me in a moment here. When you open this up for the first time, it'll be a little slow. Same thing with the first time you build, and same thing with the first time you start up the server. Subsequent loads should be a bit faster. So don't be worried if that's a little bit slow for you at the beginning. I will also go over to localhost 4503. We're probably not going to see anything at first because although we have deployed the code to both author and publisher, we have not actually published the code or any changes from the author server to the publisher. It looks like there are some pieces of content for pages that are already available within the weekend project. If you come here to the code base and go to the content folder, you'll see that we actually do have some pages that are already defined and saved here in the code base. Typically on a project, you don't want to save a lot of the pages in the actual code base. But for setup here with the AEM tutorial, it looks like they do provide those. So you can actually come straight to 4503 and you can see that you have your content just like you would very similarly see it on the author environment. Now, let's go ahead and make a change that we can then publish from our author to our publisher. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the Language Masters EN page. This is the Language Masters page, so it basically serves as a template or a defining page for other ones. So for example, our EN page here under Language Masters will map to our EN page under US. This allows for localization and allows you to have different websites with different content and translations, but have them managed from a single page under Language Masters, something that we'll get into more in future videos. Opening up this Language Masters page though, I'm just going to click the wrench to modify this teaser. And let's just go ahead and give it an updated title. Go ahead and save that. So this is our updated title. Now, in order to publish content from AEM author to publisher, we just go ahead and open up this little button here and look down for the publish page option. It will tell us all of the assets that are referenced here, all the experience fragments and templates, which may still need to be published as part of this new page. Go ahead and hit publish on those. All right, so now let's go back to 4503 for a moment. Check our page. So we are looking at the EN one right now, but we of course modified the Language Masters one. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to Language Masters. This will load up for us, but interestingly, you see that we don't have our updated title here. That's because we haven't set up the actual replication process. We need a user that's capable of replicating our content on our author server to our publish server. One thing I will mention is that sometimes you'll have caching issues where your content is published, but it doesn't update. So you can add a query parameter here in the URL to break the cache. So if you think something should be published, but it's not showing up properly, you can try adding the query parameters. I know that that's not our issue, but I just wanted to mention that. Our issue is that we don't have a replication agent defined for this particular new setup that we have. So I'm just going to go to localhost 4502 and follow this path here, which is etc replication agents.author / publish.html, which I'll also include in the description of the video. You can see here that our agent is actually disabled at the moment. If we go ahead and test the connection, it's invalid. So we need to modify this to ensure that we can actually replicate our content. I'm going to go ahead and enable this to begin with. I'm going to change this to admin. I'm going to check my transport URI. I need to define my host and my port, local host port 4503. The rest I don't need to change here. Okay, I'm back now. I was a little mistaken about the username. So the username and the password here, we're just going to use admin. So I'll show you the settings one more time. Enable this. Go ahead and update your transport host and port, and then go ahead and put admin for that, assuming that's what you use to sign in. Then you can go ahead and test connection. You can see that it succeeds. Let's go back to our weekend project here. For the author server, go ahead and publish this page, publish it, and we'll come back to the publish view. Go ahead and hit reload, and now we can see that on our publish server, we're actually getting our updates from the author server now that we've published it. So at this point, we've seen how to install Java, how to install Maven, how to get the AEM SDK for both author and publish, how to create an author folder, how to rename the SDK for the appropriate file, author and publish, how to get the weekend code, how to then build the weekend code to both your author and publish servers, and finally, how to configure your publish agent to allow you to publish additional changes from the author. Thank you for joining.